This page is the front cover of issue 20 of 64 magazine, proclaiming itself as the first and best Nintendo 64 magazine. The big news is Body Harvest. Splashed across the cover, it's being hyped as a killer game with the tagline, Festival of Carnage arrives at last. They're giving away 15 copies of Turok 2, and highlighting, all new hires shots, more blood than ever. Other games mentioned include Michael Owen's World League Soccer, 99, Duke Nukem, 0 Hour and San Francisco Rush 2. There are teasers for South Park, promising you can save the world with Cartman and Kenny, and Space Station, Silicon Valley, with a quirky description of robot sheep, flying rabbits, skiing dogs, maddest game ever. And right at the top, there's a preview for WCW vs NWO Revenge on page 56. It's priced at £3.95. The next page showcases an advert for Extreme G2, promising no known side effects, as yet, which is a bit cheeky. It's coming in November 98 for both the PC CD and the Nintendo 64, published by Acclaim and developed by Probe Entertainment. The visuals are all futuristic bikes racing through tunnels. Then, over on the right, there's an advert pushing subscriptions to 64 magazine. You can save up to £42, getting 12 issues for £35, which is a decent saving, and you get a free strategy guide, either for N64 Secret Strategies and Solutions, or a specific one covering Banjo-Kazooie, Lilac Wars and GoldenEye. They're highlighting some of the games they cover, with screenshots including GoldenEye, Banjo-Kazooie, Forsaken, World Cup 98, Yoshi's Story, Diddy Kong Racing, Mario 64, and Mario Kart 64. They're also punting their book range with guides for Banjo-Kazooie, GoldenEye, and Lilac Wars. Banjo and Kazooie themselves are even featured in the advert, looking rather pleased with themselves. 64 Magazine issue 20 promises a competition to win Turok 2. Reviews cover Body Harvest, XG2, Glover, Space Station Silicon Valley, WCW vs NWO Revenge, and NHL 99. Previews include Turok 2, South Park, Rat Attack, Virtual Pool 64, Roadsters 98, and Holy Magic Century. Regular sections feature Nintendo news, reader letters, subscriptions info, a game index, and a preview of the next issue. Gamebusters provides cheats. Score Zone hosts a competition. Other features cover Buck Bumble, Super Robot Spirits, NASCAR 99, UK F1 World Grand Prix, and UK Wildlife Country Club. The magazine was published in 1998. This page showcases a few articles from the magazine. First up is the editorial, moaning about game delays, especially Zelda 64 and Turok 2, blaming marketing pressure on programmers. Then there's a piece shouting about a new Nintendo 64 bundle deal. Free Mario, free Bond, which is offering a console with either Super Mario 64 or GoldenEye for £99.98, a penny cheaper than the PlayStation apparently. Next, we've got a preview of Telstar's Assault, which I know better as Blast Corps, coming to the N64. It's described as a Contra/Probotector style game, with space marines like Major Kelly Doyle and Sergeant Reno J. Washington fighting giant space insects. Sounds right up my street. There's also a staff section called Them What Done It, introducing Andy McDermott, Roy Kimber, Ben Lawrence and Nick Trent, with little photos and jokes, plus mentions Stuart Taylor and Russell Murray for musical talents. Over on the right, another article, Testing Time, Interplay are after game testers, specifically for Earthworm Jim 3D, for people aged 14 to 26. They even give a phone number to ring, 01628423775. And finally, there's a Duke Nukem 0 Hour preview, saying Duke is back to kick ass in a new Duke match game, with some screenshots of the action. This page kicks off with some news nuggets. Carmageddon 64 is having its violence toned down a bit, apparently to appease some folks who don't like mowing down zombies instead of people. Fighting Force 64 is delayed again, typical. Moving on, there's a preview for Super Mario RPG 2. Warrington there saying it's finally coming on cartridge, not the 64DD add-on. It's got that Mischief Makers vibe, with the flat 2D characters, on 3D backgrounds. Sounds like the usual princess saving lark. Orchestra. Then there's a piece on Revolting. Which is Revolt, a radio-controlled car racing game. Apparently it's all about realistic physics and crashing, with tracks set in places like museums. There's a bit of light-heartedness with game licenses we can live without, a top 10 of dodgy game tie-ins. Over on the right, Gizmos and Gadgets is showcasing some official Nintendo TAT, clock radios, walkie-talkies, binoculars, all branded Nintendo and probably not amazing quality. The charts comment is about the N64 game charts, noting 1080 degrees snowboarding is still at the top. There's also a chart compo, where you can win a £50 voucher by predicting the top 3 games. Blast Corps is getting a comic book, which is news to Rare themselves. Apparently Dark Horse Comics are doing a one-shot based on the game's story. Finally, coming soon from Paragon Publishing, mentions a Nintendo 64 Secrets book, a Turok 2 Tips magazine, and a relaunch of the Total Games Network website. The next page is the Game Watch feature. It's the magazine's definitive guide to upcoming games, all helpfully organized by month. November 98 is looking busy with titles like the Japanese wrestling game, 64, Uzumo 2, the odd-sounding Body Harvest and Buck Bumble. There's also puzzle action with Bust-a-Move 3 and Charlie Blast's Challenge, plus platforming with Earthworm Jim 3D and Rayman 2, and racing with F-Zero X. December's got a few crackers lined up too, like Airboarding USA and more Bust-a-Move and Rayman. Seems they are popular. Into 1999, they're listing games like Battle Tanks and Castlevania 64. Then there's a section for games with no confirmed date, featuring gems like Perfect Dark and Jet Force Gemini from Rare, plus Duke Nukem, 0 Hour. On the right, there's a big advert for Turok 2, Seeds of Evil, announcing its November release. Looks like a busy few months for gaming. The 64 magazine's letters page covers diverse reader feedback. One reader praises the magazine's cheat code accuracy, particularly for Mission Impossible, while another humorously challenges an Ask Andy section regarding Banjo-Kazooie secrets. A reader seeks advice on taking GoldenEye screenshots. Another confesses to being a game lamer, struggling with games like Sonic the Hedgehog. Other letters address criticisms of N64 games, questions about the magazine's formatting, and NTSC console comparisons. Ask Andy answers questions on Mission Impossible cheats, game release dates, and the value of gex, plus comparing PlayStation and N64 controllers. The page ends with 64 Forum, asking readers' opinions on Nintendo 64 DD cancellation, the social acceptability of video games, and the return of a humorous memory card losers section. This page is a competition spread for Turok 2, Seeds of Evil, offering 15 lucky readers the chance to win a copy of the game. Acclaim are giving away these highly anticipated cartridges, and to enter you have to answer 3 questions related to the game and send your answers on a postcard to the provided address before November 30th. The questions ask about an Acclaim game with brain-melting music, a Turok 2 weapon that drills brains, and what animal the IT player turns into in Turok 2's Fragtag multiplayer mode. To simple enough competition, and 15 copies up for grabs is a decent wedge. Must get my postcard sorted. This page showcases a preview for Turok 2, Seeds of Evil, and blimey, they're saying it's still not finished but definitely worth the wait. Seems there have been delays pushing the release back to December, but they've got a preview build that's a massive improvement. They're raving about the hires mode and new weapons, like the Shredder and a harpoon gun for underwater battles. They even tease a nuke weapon. The magazine reckons it could be even better than GoldenEye, which is fighting talk. Then there's a section on the multiplayer called Multiple Maniacs, detailing 3 different modes in Turok 2. First up is Bloodlust, your classic deathmatch setup. They compare the fast-paced action to PC Quake 2. Reckon it'll give GoldenEye a run for its money as best multiplayer game. Fragtag sounds a bit bonkers. One player is a monkey armed with a screech, and the others have to hunt it down. Whoever tags the monkey the most wins. Finally, Team Blood is team-based, red versus blue, like Quasar but with assault rifles. There's also a bit titled, Never Eat Shredder Wheat, which is a humorous look at just how powerful the weapons are, saying even a blind one losing can use them. All in all, Turok 2 is shaping up to be something special. The next page continues with the Turok 2 preview, kicking off with a bit more on the Fragtag multiplayer mode, which they've cleverly titled, Spank the Monkey. It sounds utterly ridiculous. One player is a monkey, and everyone else has to blast it. Whoever clocks the monkey the most wins. They then move on to beastly behavior, showing off some of the ghastly creatures you'll be up against in single player. They've got giant wasps, blind ones that can hear you coming a mile off, mantids that invade in hordes, and even daft things like stupid wheel things and biodroids. It looks like they've really gone to town on the enemy designs. Some proper nasty pieces of work there. Blah. There's a section on Wonder Walls, which is about customizing the deathmatch arenas. Apparently you can swap out the standard grey walls for different textures, like wood or stone, which is a nice touch. Then, Mean Arenas lists out some of the deathmatch level names, places like Mayhem, Close Quartered, Vulcan's Forge, and even a Madhouse level, and a secret unnamed level. Sounds like there's plenty of variety in the maps for a good old multiplayer fragfest. Finally, they tease the main boss of the game, Primogen, saying he's a massive rock-hard bad guy and will take ages to defeat. They've even censored part of the screenshot because it's a bit too gruesome. All in all, it's still looking rather promising for Turok 2. This page is all about South Park on the N64, and it's looking like a proper bit of cartoon chows. They've captured the show's look in 3D, and it seems to be packed with the same humor. You can choose to play as Stan, Kyle, Cartman, or poor old Kenny in the single-player adventure, where you're trying to save South Park from a comet. But the real draw sounds like the 4-player multiplayer. Imagine pelting your mates with snowballs, or using fart launchers. Brilliant! They've got a shed load of silly weapons, dart guns, and even sucker dart guns, alongside Barbady's dart gun. Sounds like anarchy. In deathmatch mode, you can play as characters like Chef, Big Gay Al, Mr. Garrison, Uncle Jimbo, and Mr. Hat, as well as the kids themselves, which is fantastic. You'll be up against turkeys, visitors, those pesky aliens, including some Braveheart mutant turkeys, which are something else. Keep an eye out for cheesy poofs for energy boosts. It's coming from Acclaim and made by Iguana, slated for a December '98 release. They're even suggesting the multiplayer could be bigger than GoldenEye, which is a big claim. And as Cartman famously says, "I'm not fat, I'm festively plump." The game engine is based on Turok 2, so it should be a solid performer. Rat Attack on the N64 is a quirky 3D action game where players, as cartoon cats, trap rats by drawing stretchy squares around them. The goal is to prevent the rats from destroying furniture. Gameplay involves drawing shapes, jumping on a device to capture rats, and utilizing different cats with unique abilities. Levels range from a typical house to more eccentric settings like a funhouse and factory, featuring various rat types, including mutant variants. The game offers multiplayer for up to 4 players, where players compete to trap rats, and even steal from each other. Designed for frantic, fast-paced action, the game also includes outdoor levels with weather effects. Expected to release in early 1999, Rat Attack appears to be a fun, albeit unusual, addition to the N64's library. The next page showcases a couple of games. First up is a preview of Virtual Pool 64. It seems they're really pushing the realism of this one, highlighting how players can get right down to table level to judge their shots. They're boasting about the ball physics being the best ever created for a pool game, and the real-time lighting. Apparently you can even see the trajectory of the balls to help line up your shots, which is a nice touch. They mention different versions of 8-ball, 9-ball, and even pub rules, which should keep things interesting. It sounds like they're impressed with the controls and the analog stick usage, and even say it has Rumble Pack support. They're promising a full review next issue. On the other side of the page is an advert for Penny Racers. Endless variations, and limited only by your imagination are the taglines, suggesting a focus on creative racing fun. The screenshots show colorful, toy-like cars racing on a checkered flag background, hinting at a quirky and imaginative racer. The next page features previews for 2 racing games. First up is Roadsters 98. It seems Titus, the developers, have delayed the release until December '98. They're pitching it as a rival to Top Gear Overdrive, and it's all about driving convertible sports cars. There are 20 different tracks across various locations, including tropical islands and cityscapes. They're promising realistic special effects like skid marks and snow. It sounds like they're focusing on handling, with adjustable steering settings like in Top Gear Rally. The city tracks are highlighted as a key feature, with mad rush downtown city traffic. Graphically, they're saying the fogging is being kept to a minimum to not affect the speed. Then we have a look at Rush 2, Extreme Racing USA. This is the sequel to San Francisco Rush, and it's hyped as one of the most eagerly awaited N64 games. Apparently the graphics aren't amazing so far, but the gameplay seems to be improved. There are 12 tracks across the USA, and over 16 selectable cars, with custom car options too. They've kept the crazy jumps and hidden secrets from the first game, and have an enhanced physics engine which gives more control. They mention easier cornering and taking corners without handbrake. They even show screenshots of racing in the subway system and doing huge jumps over buildings. It sounds like they reckon it will appeal to fans of the original and newcomers alike, saying it will be totally mad. Rakuga Kids, also known as Crayon Fighter, is a quirky beat-em-up game from Konami, aiming for comedic success. Players control the Tinkles gang, Kids who use magical crayons to bring their drawings to life, transforming them into superheroes. Each character boasts unique crayon attacks, such as Coolsroy's Bull Charge and Bucking Bronco, with other characters like Memezo and Captain Catkit offering equally outlandish moves. The game features detailed 2D graphics, with beautifully crafted backgrounds that contrast with the cartoonish characters. Controls include punch, kick, magic, and taunt buttons, offering responsive gameplay. Crayon mode and sketch mode are available, with Grudge Match, including characters Anmisi and Roy. The preview suggests that if the final product matches its quality, the game is poised to be a success. The game is slated for release in December '98. This page is a preview of FIFA 99 in the 64 site section. It's subtitled, "What Next? FIFA 2000? Pondering the Future of the Franchise." The article humorously compares the game's graphical improvements to human evolution, highlighting the jump from knuckle-draggers to orthodontically perfect players. It mentions FIFA 99 is eSports' fourth N64 football game, following in the footsteps of FIFA 64, Road to World Cup 98, and World Cup 98. It notes each iteration has improved, with FIFA 99 set to continue the trend. There are 220 different teams to choose from, including all 20 English Premier League clubs and even a fantasy football element. Key gameplay improvements are highlighted, such as instant player control without waiting for predefined animation sequences and lots of new moves and tricks including chest traps, dummies and sliding kicks. The AI has been boosted with goalkeepers chipping the ball at a 40-degree angle. The frame rate is averaging 30 frames per second, making it smoother than older FIFA titles. The camera can be positioned almost anywhere, for the best view. The screenshots are captioned with humorous observations, like a goalie with unfeasibly long arms, a player stopping an attack to buy a chocolate bar, and players performing gravity-defying moves. Ryan Butt from Play Magazine is quoted watching the game in horror, and there's a comment about players' heads moving to watch the ball in the sky. The game's publisher is eSports, and the release date is March '99. This page features a preview of Michael Owen's World League Soccer '99. Seems young Michael Owen, the Liverpool striker, is getting his own football game. Eidos is publishing, and Silicon Dreams are developing it, with a release slated for April '99. They're really pushing the boat out, claiming it'll be better than Konami's IS-98, which is a bold statement, as that's the top dog for footy on the N64. They reckon the player control and AA are going to be top tier. Apparently it's an enhanced version of the PlayStation game, World League Soccer, which is interesting. Bit of a delay for the N64 version, pushed back to April, while those PlayStation blighters get it earlier. The screenshots are a bit of a laugh, pointing out the decent hires graphics and joking about the teams maybe being sponsored by an ice cream company with all the number 99 kits. They're also wondering if the eye will be better than IS-98. Then we've got a Woolworths ad spread across the right side. Decked out like some Welcome to Paradise Sweetie Land with Walker's crisps everywhere and N64 controllers flying around. They're advertising the latest N64 releases: 1080 Snowboarding, Turok 2, Seeds of Evil, Mission, Impossible, and F-Zero X, all priced at £39.99. Turok 2 and F-Zero X even have their release dates listed as being out in November '98. Looks like Woolies is the place to be for your N64 games. This page dives into Holy Magic Century, which is the UK version of the N64 RPG Quest 64. Apparently Konami has tweaked the game for us Brits, probably because the import version wasn't a massive hit with reviewers. One of the main gripes was the constant monster battles, making it a pain to travel. They've toned that down, so you don't get jumped every 5 steps. Also, the main character's name has been changed from Brian to Arion. Bit of a strange one, that. Graphically they reckon it's a bit fuzzier compared to the import, but the monsters are still just as weird, which should please RPG fans. It's set for release in November '98, published by Konami, and developed by Interplay. The box art on the right proclaims it as the first RPG ever for the Nintendo 64, with some screenshots showing off the gameplay. This FAQ from the N64 era covers common questions and concerns of the time. It explains the difference between megabits and megabytes, clarifying the N64's 4 MB RAM and the benefits of the expansion pack for improved graphics and gameplay. Cartridge costs and the ill-fated 64DD are discussed. Tips on controller pack management and the use of cheat devices like Action Replay are also included. The FAQ also addresses review scores, release delays, and features a WTF glossary defining gaming terms. A screenshot from The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time is included, and a photo of the team behind the magazine. The next page is a vibrant advert for the Total Games Guide to Game Boy Color magazine, proclaiming, "It's here!" It showcases Mario and Wario as they appear on both the original Game Boy and the new color version. Pokémon is also heavily featured, and the ad promises reviews for every new Game Boy Color game. Features listed include Game Boy Color printer and camera compatibility, and it boasts official Nintendo tips and cheats. There's an offer to buy the guide for £1.95, on sale until December 12th. Intriguingly, there are also two Q&A sections. One is about becoming a games reviewer for the magazine, humorously stating they send out golden tickets initially, before revealing the real need for good English skills and tolerance for boring tasks. The other question addresses why a game might get different scores in 64 magazine compared to other Nintendo magazines. The polite answer suggests it's due to different reviewers and tastes, using Mission, Impossible and GoldenEye as examples of games that could be rated differently. Body Harvest, a Gremlin-published N64 title developed by DMA Design, receives a 40/64 score. This ambitious single-player shooter/adventure, after 2 years of anticipation, features a time-traveling hero, Adam Drake, battling alien bugs harvesting Earth throughout history. Gameplay involves completing tasks to disable force fields in diverse locations, like Greece and Siberia. Players utilize a range of vehicles, with over 80 available, alongside simplified controls. The review praises the enemy designs and large-scale environments. However, it also notes issues like vehicle handling, and the potential for frustration due to simple puzzles and a lot of travel. The game offers 3 save slots, and promises a lot of action with big explosions. It's a game with significant highs and lows. This page continues the review of Body Harvest for the Nintendo 64. We've got a bit about famous faces in the game, pointing out the humorous British characters you encounter during Adam's adventure, and a section called Death of a Bug, which highlights the satisfying bug-squashing action, noting they explode nicely. Bug Off talks about the game's visuals, praising the enemy designs but mentioning the typical N64 fog. There's a bottom-line controls section, showing the N64 pad layout standard stuff, like L and R for camera rotate, C buttons for zoom and vehicle entry, and Z for fire. They suggest alternative games, like Buck Bumble from Ubisoft, reviewed in issue 18, and Duke Nukem 64 from GT, reviewed in issue 7. Finally, the ratings section gives the game a solid 85% overall, with strong scores in graphics, audio, gameplay and challenge, all getting 4 or 5 out of 5 and symbols. The soundbite sums it up as, very big, very tough, slightly flawed, but a great challenge. The review text itself mentions the boss luminescence effect, making it clear where to shoot bosses, and touches upon exploration and puzzle elements. They do moan a bit about the save system and the size of the game world, leading to some frustratingly long walks if you die. Overall, they reckon Body Harvest is a fantastic idea let down by some minor annoyances, suggesting it could have been one of the best on the N64 if not for these flaws. XG2, a futuristic motorbike racer, is a sequel that doesn't quite live up to its predecessor. The game features extreme contests with weapons, 36 tracks, actually 12 with variations, and 10 customizable bikes. While the game boasts well-designed bikes and over-the-top weapons, it suffers from a slower pace than the original and repetitive tracks. The game also features a frustrating unlock system for superbikes. The game, published by Acclaim and developed by Probe, includes a deathmatch mode with tanks in well-designed arenas which the reviewer praises. Other gameplay features are highlighted, including tunnel starts and nitro boosts. The game features Rumble and utilizes a controller pack for saving progress and unlocking content. Despite some positives, the reviewer expresses mixed feelings, suggesting that the tank battle mode is the highlight of an otherwise flawed experience. XG2 receives a 70% score, deemed extremely naff in extreme and arcade modes due to repetitive tracks and a disappointing 2-bike multiplayer. The deathmatch tank mode is the only saving grace, with a second opinion noting the all-or-nothing steering, graphics, audio, gameplay, and challenge each score 3.5 out of 5 N64 logos. The review compares XG2 to the original Extreme Egg and F-Zero X, scoring 90%. The soundbite labels it an average sequel. An adjacent advertisement promotes an N64 cheat service, offering tips for 100 games, including racing, F-Zero X, Mario Kart 64, platform, Mario 64, Banjo-Kazooie, sports, shoot 'em up, GoldenEye, and beat-em-up titles. Calls cost 50p per minute to a premium rate number. This page reviews Glover for the N64, describing it as a puzzle adventure game where you control a walking glove and a crystal that transforms into a ball. It highlights the game's backstory about a wizard and scattered crystals. The review mentions that the gameplay is reminiscent of Marble Madness, but with the added element of the glove. It points out that the core gameplay involves finding crystals and returning them to the hub world. The glove can transform the ball into different types like bowling or magnetic balls to solve puzzles. The review emphasizes the game is not easy, requiring careful ball control, particularly on narrow platforms. Checkpoints are noted as a helpful feature. The page shows screenshots of gameplay, including a carnival bonus stage and an Atlantis boss fight. There's an info box with details like player number, cart size being 64 meters, Rumble Pack support, and a release date of November 1998, priced at £49.99. Key moves like cartwheel, cast spell, fist slam, throw and stick to walls are illustrated. The review also mentions bonus levels, including a maze game reminiscent of Pac-Man and a Frogger-style Atlantis level. There's a 64,000 question box praising the cartoon graphics, puzzle variety, realistic ball physics, boss levels, and admitting the puzzles can be frustrating. Memory options are listed as 6 save game slots. The page ends by quoting the Frankie boss, described as Cross-Stitch, the evil glove. This review of the N64 game Glover highlights its 3D puzzle adventure gameplay, giving it 4 out of 5 stars across graphics, audio, gameplay, and challenge. The review mentions the helpful hint system featuring characters Mr. Tip and Miss Hint. The game controls are detailed, showing the N64 controller layout. Second Opinion calls the game cute, recommending it for those seeking something different, drawing comparisons to Space Station Silicon Valley. The overall score is 85%. The soundbite praises Glover's stylish production. The review also includes advertisements. One is for a store called Skill, selling us Nintendo 64 consoles for £124.99, PlayStations for £118.99, and various games for both systems. Another ad promotes a Nintendo Tidy cabinet for game storage. Space Station Silicon Valley, a puzzle adventure game for the N64, received a 52% rating. Developed by DMA Design and published by Take-Two, the game features the player controlling Evo, a cerebral chip, who can possess various robotic animals to solve puzzles. The gameplay involves navigating a bizarre, imaginative world, filled with creatures like robotic sheep and wheel-footed foxes. The review highlights the game's innovative body-snatching mechanic, variety of playable characters, and 3D puzzles. It praises the game's dark humor and strangeness, drawing comparisons to the Commodore 64 game Paradroid. However, the review criticizes the camera angles. The game involves collecting frozen scientist heads, penning robotic sheep, controlling a hippo on a log ride, and a projectile-spitting camel. Ultimately, Space Station Silicon Valley is presented as a unique and unconventional experience, unsuitable for children. This page continues the review of Space Station Silicon Valley, highlighting its revolutionary gameplay due to the variety of different animals you can control and the unique puzzle solving this mechanic offers. The review points out the non-linear nature of the game, allowing missions to be tackled in different orders, and the escalating puzzle complexity as you progress. It mentions the final bonus game is a boxing match, and humorously notes the crazy bear enemies. There's a section on bottom-line controls, which shows the N64 controller layout for the game, detailing button functions like leave/switch animal and camera controls. It also lists alternative games if you like this style, Banjo-Kazooie and Glover, noting their previous review scores from earlier issues. The review gives Space Station Silicon Valley ratings, awarding it 4 out of 5 N-stars for graphics and audio, and a full 5 out of 5 N-stars for gameplay and challenge. The overall verdict is an impressive 87%. The soundbite summarizes the game as a weird, sick, quirky, innovative 3D arcade puzzler. Screenshots showcase gameplay, including controlling a penguin and a tortoise tank creature. There's also a section called Outlandish Animals, describing some of the more bizarre robotic creatures featured, like a 4WD racing fox, a bunny with rotor blade ears, and a polar bear firing shells from its nose. The review concludes by emphasizing the game's unique and enjoyable nature, recommending it to those who enjoy puzzles and quirky humor. This page is a review of WCW vs NWO Revenge on the N64. They're calling it a worthy successor to WCW vs NWO World Tour, both from THQ. It seems they reckon there's a right load of content, boasting loads of wrestlers, arenas and wrestling match types from 101 to a massive 40-man battle royale. Customization is in too, letting you tweak wrestlers to your liking. And there are classic wrestlers like Hulk Hogan alongside original characters, including one called THQ Man who sounds a bit superhero-like. Roy Kimber's second opinion reckons it's a definite step up from the first game, praising the new characters, animations and weapons. He thinks it just edges out WWF Warzone for gameplay, making it essential. The $64,000 question panel lists good points like tons of wrestlers and moves, camera angles, weapons, customization and a heavy metal soundtrack, but notes slightly dodgy fighter recognition as a minor issue. They've given it 4 out of 5 N-stars for graphics, audio, gameplay and challenge, with an overall score of 87%. The soundbite is, leotard wearing loonies on top form. There's a bottom-line controls section showing the N64 pad layout, and some alternative game suggestions like WCW vs NWO World Tour and WWF Warzone, referencing previous reviews in issue 9 and 16 respectively. Memory options are none, but you can save wrestler data on a controller pack. It's a 128 meg cart, supports Rumble Pack, and was released in November '98, priced at £49.99. NHL 99 for N64 receives an 88% overall rating. Developed by eSports, the game costs £49.99. Reviewers praise its graphics, audio, gameplay, and challenge, awarding it 4 out of 5 stars across the board. The game emphasizes realism, with realistic visuals and sound. Controls are user-friendly, allowing for various actions. The game boasts a wide selection of teams, camera angles, and smooth gameplay. Roy Kimber calls it the best N64 hockey game due to its graphics and realism. The review also features control breakdowns and suggests Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey 98 and NHL Breakaway as alternatives. The overall consensus is that NHL 99 is a strong title for hockey fans. Super Robot Spirits for the N64 received a poor review, scoring only 49%. The game attempts to be a beat-em-up featuring giant robots in an anime style, but it fails to deliver. While praised for its anime-style audio and animation, the gameplay is criticized for being too simplistic and easy, allowing players to defeat opponents with a single punch. The limited number of fighters and lifeless backgrounds further detract from the experience. A second opinion is even harsher, calling the graphics unfinished. Ratings reflect the criticism, with low scores for graphics, gameplay, and challenge. The review suggests the game would have been more appropriate on the Sega Saturn. Alternatives like Mortal Kombat 4 are mentioned. The game's inspiration comes from classic robot anime and cartoons. Warcha. NASCAR 99 for Nintendo 64 receives a 64% overall score, aiming to capture the thrill of NASCAR but falling short. The review praises its fast pace, detailed cars and car setup options. While the in-car view is a highlight, the game suffers from repetitive oval tracks and lackluster visuals. The two-player mode offers an unusual in-car perspective. Criticisms include wooden commentary and uninspired crashes. Despite decent scores for graphics, audio, gameplay, and challenge, the game's appeal is limited to dedicated NASCAR fans. Alternatives like GT64 and F1 WGP are mentioned. The review details controller layouts and memory options, requiring a controller pack for saving. A competition offers a Scalextric set as a prize. F1 World Grand Prix for the N64 receives high praise in this review, earning a 91% overall score and being hailed as the best racer on the console. The game features 4 save slots and maintains the correct speed for PAL gamers. Controls are standard N64 fare. Graphics, audio, gameplay, and challenge all receive top marks. The review highlights the game's rewarding, albeit initially challenging, racing experience. Realistic elements like pit stops and car setups are included. The game accurately replicates real courses, developed by Paradigm. The review praises the graphics, camera angles, and realism, despite some minor fogging. While a 4-player mode is absent, 2-player is available. This review, by Stuart Taylor, appears in issue 20 of 1998. Wailea Country Club for N64 receives a scathing review, earning a mere 15%. The reviewer criticizes the game's blurry graphics, awful sound reminiscent of an 80s game show, and ineffective wheel-shaped powerbar controls. Despite recognizing potential with improved elements, the review declares the game unplayable in its current state. Game information reveals it's a Nintendo and T&E soft golf game from Japan, priced at £39.99, supporting 1 to 4 players with rumble. Screenshots depict typical golfing actions. The review's bottom line section details the controls. The review ends by suggesting another game with an equally poor rating. Graphic, audio, gameplay, and challenge all receive the lowest possible score. A sidebar advertises 64 Solutions Issue 7, a tips magazine. This mail order page advertises numerous Nintendo products. They offer N64 bundles, including the console with games like GoldenEye, Mario, and Zelda. Individual N64 games are also available, new and used, with prices ranging from £17 to £50. Fast, free delivery is emphasized. Beyond games, the page features Nintendo beanies, Sakura accessories, stickers, and colored controllers. Game Boy Color is also a focus, with a competition to win one, plus games and accessories like the pocket camera and printer, and Super NES games are listed too. Other accessories such as rumble packs, cheat devices, and cables are available. The page concludes with ads for third-party controllers and an order form with operating hours. Cheat Central's page covers several N64 games. Body Harvest offers codes for alien destruction, Anul, weapons, arsenal, and vehicle repairs, durable, plus a controller layout guide. Iggy's Wrecking Balls has password cheats like microballs for varied effects. F1 World Grand Prix unlocks gallery and credit viewing by renaming drivers. NASCAR 99 unlocks drivers via button sequences at specific tracks. GoldenEye's Action Replay enables Predator mode for multiplayer invisibility. Gasp/Deadly Arts allows playing as Gookie and alternate costumes with button combinations. SimCity 2000 provides a bonus map and 5 million simoleons. GT64 Championship Edition includes a turbo start hint. Finally, a brief mention of Buck Bumble refers to a guide section. Yeetus. This page is a proper advert, in it, for a game shop. All about buying, selling and swapping your games, mainly for the Nintendo 64. They're really pushing the N64, with lists of consoles, all sorts of accessories like rumble packs and memory cards, and a massive list of games, both brand new and second-hand, even import versions for those fancy Japanese titles. Zelda 64, Ocarina of Time is splashed all over the page with screenshots. Proper classic that game, still holds up today. They've got bits and bobs for the Game Boy Color, and even the Neo Geo Pocket tucked away. But the N64 is definitely the main event. They're promising decent prices for your old stuff, and a guarantee if you're not happy, plus an exchange deal. Just your typical game shop advert from back in the day, trying to get you through the door. They're based in Suffolk House down in London. All the contact details are there if you fancy popping down or giving them a bell. This page in 64 magazine, we're in the score zone naturally. It's all about bragging rights this, seeing who's got the top scores on a bunch of N64 games. Looks like they've got leaderboards for loads of titles from Banjo-Kazooie and Top Gear Rally to Nagano Winter Olympics and Chameleon Twist. Fighter's Destiny, Tetrasphere and Diddy Kong Racing also feature. Wave Race 64 and Star Fox 64, or Lilac Wars as they call it here, are in there too, alongside Mario 64, Extreme G, Mischief Makers, 1080 Snowboarding and GoldenEye, the usual suspects for top scores really. There's a bit called Mug Zone, encouraging folk to send in photos, wanting their 5 minutes of fame I suppose, and Enter the Zone, explaining how to get your own scores published. Down at the bottom they've got a 64 magazine challenge for F1 World Grand Prix, reckon it's the best F1 game going, and they're after the fastest lap times on Monaco. A proper test of skill that is, Monaco. This page continues the score zone, showing off more top scores for various games. They've still got the tables going, this time with Turok Training Level, Wetrix Classic, and F1 World Grand Prix at the top. Then there's Shadows of the Empire, Snowboard Kids, Quake 64, Yoshi's Story, and Mario Kart 64. Loads of names and times listed, all trying to be the best at these games. Alongside all the scores is a big advert shouting about Nintendo 64 Gold, a guidebook full of secrets, strategies and solutions. Apparently, it covers over 480 pages and includes solutions for games like Diddy Kong Racing, GoldenEye, Mission Impossible, Banjo-Kazooie, Mortal Kombat 4, Forsaken, and Quake. It also boasts an as of cheats for all the latest games, and it's out now for £14.95, which even gets you a free memory card. They've got an order form there too, if you fancy sending off for it. Below that is a bit about the Ultimate Player competition where you can win a Trident Pad controller and memory card. Looks like they pick someone each month based on who's impressing them with their gaming prowess. This guide covers missions 5 and 6 in Buck Bumble. Mission 5, Big Blips, involves destroying large targets. Players should gather nectar and navigate the tube area, grabbing a plasma pistol and points before facing killer pillars and a killer commander. Headshots damage killer pillars, and the commander is tougher, using water for cover. Mission 6, Short Fuse, focuses on a bomb and a command center. The mission starts with a bomb, protected by a phase column. Players should disable the beam, and the guide mentions finding a spiker gun. Clear the area of enemies, including turrets, then collect the bomb and transport it through a tunnel guarded by a killer pillar, and another in the sewer. Proceed through the sewer, collecting pickups and points. The final objective involves clearing the command center of all enemies before planting the bomb. A secret is noted. Destroying the killer pillar behind a herd gate grants rewards. This page details the playing guide for Buck Bumble, focusing on missions 7 and 8. Mission 7 is titled Outpost, where you're tasked with taking out a herd outpost. The guide starts by pointing out weapon pickups like plasma pistols and cluster bombs near the hedge. It advises destroying a Grade 2 transporter and being wary of homing maggots. Secret areas are highlighted, including points pickups under a bridge, a fusion cannon in a dead end, and more rewards hidden behind a spade in a wall. The mission involves navigating through areas with phase columns, Weevil cannons, and Louise gun emplacements, seeking out hidden bonuses and weapons like plasma pistols, cluster bombs, and a pulse laser. The objective is to destroy shield generators to proceed. Pin. Moving on to Mission 8, Sewer, the objective shifts to destroying wasp and wasp generators. You start by collecting a spiker and Weevil cannon. The guide emphasizes destroying Weevils for safe passage due to mines. Secret areas continue to be a theme, with points and weapons hidden after flying under wooden beams. The sewer mission involves navigating passages, destroying wasp generators, and enemies like Louise gun emplacements and giz beetles. Caution is urged due to homing mines, and careful approach is advised for mushrooms and mines, with the final goal being the destruction of the last wasp generator to complete the mission. It also mentions that exploring every nook and cranny is worthwhile for pickups concealed in overhead pipes. Mission 9, Cleanup, requires finding 3 key pieces to open a herd gate, starting with avoiding flak slugs by flying low. Key pieces are found by destroying a herd building, a killer pillar, and wasps in a swarm. Weapon pickups include spiker, frag cannon, plasma pistol, and HGS-2000. A secret area near a tree stump offers an HGS-2000 and requires eliminating enemies to activate a teleport. Mosquitoes in the teleport area need an HGS-2000 to defeat them. Mission 10, Scramble Pylon, tasks players with activating 5 switches to open the herd gate. Guided missile launchers are recommended. Switches are guarded and located in various conduits. There's a secret area with an HGS-2000 and other items. After activating the switches, players head through the gate, defeat 3 killer pillars, and the water boatman. To destroy the pylon, take out the defenses, and shoot the orb. The final boss, the herd commander, is defeated by staying behind him and using the pulse laser. Mission 11 of the Buck Bumble playing guide, Herding Research, focuses on collecting yellow, red, and green herdlings using the stun gun. The guide details navigating the level, collecting weapons like cluster bombs and the guided missile launcher, clearing enemies, and taking stunned herdlings to the drop basin. Players will encounter gates, including one opened by eliminating insects, and another by activating a switch. The level features herd barracks, gun turrets, and wasps near herd doors. Green herdlings are found in a picnic area and are the last to collect. Advertisements on the page include Console King selling N64, PlayStation, and Saturn hardware and games. Madeira Games advertises a stock of US and Japanese games, including N64 titles like Turok 2 and Buck Bumble, and PSX games, such as Metal Gear Solid. An advertisement for advertising space in 64 magazine is also featured. Gary. This page is a special offers advertisement for Nintendo 64 strategy guides and subscriptions to 64 Solutions magazine. You could grab guides for top titles like Super Mario 64, Banjo-Kazooie, GoldenEye, Lilat Wars and Turok 2, as well as World Cup 98, San Francisco Rush, and Diddy Kong Racing. They're promoting a new Volume 3 of Nintendo 64 Secrets, Strategies, Solutions, boasting over 1,000 screenshots and guides for games like Banjo-Kazooie, Mortal Kombat 4, Yoshi's Story, and Forsaken 64. There's also a Nintendo 64 Secrets, Strategies, Solutions Gold Edition, packed with even more tips and tricks, and a free memory card worth nearly £8. They're offering a deal where you get a free game guide when you take out a 12-month subscription to 64 Solutions magazine, with subscription options including just the magazine or the magazine, plus a free N64 game guide. The page details 5 simple ways to order, including phone, email, web, mail and fax, and includes an order form at the bottom for mail orders. This page is another subscription offer for 64 magazine, pushing their mega deal. For just £35, you can grab a year's subscription that's 12 issues, and they're even chucking in one of 8 N64 games for free. The games on offer are some crackers, mind you. GoldenEye, Forsaken, Yoshi's Story, Super Mario 64, Banjo-Kazooie, Diddy Kong Racing, World Cup 98, and Mario Kart 64. Blimey, that's a tough choice. Or, if you fancy, you can get one of those games and a copy of their Secrets, Strategies and Solutions book. Seems like they're really pushing value for money. Reckon you can save up to £42. There's an order form on the right for subscriptions and back issues, showing off all their magazine covers up to issue 19, so you can fill in the form and send it off if you're tempted by this mega deal. They're also banging on about getting the magazine early and exclusive subscriber newsletters, the works. The Nindex provides a detailed look at Nintendo's 64 games. The Thank You Mama charts highlight top-rated games, with GoldenEye, Banjo-Kazooie, and IS-98 tied at 95%. Other high scorers include Super Mario 64, F-Zero X, and Buster Move 2. The reviews cover a wide range of genres. Standouts include Banjo-Kazooie, 95%, praised as one of the best N64 games, 1080 Degrees Snowboarding and Airboarder, both at 80%, and Buster Move 2, 91%. Games like Aero Fighters Assault, Augusta Masters 98, and Cruisin' USA received very low scores. Clay Fighter 63 and a third earned the lowest score at a shocking 8%. Platformer rankings are also provided, with Banjo-Kazooie topping the Hit the Heights list, and Doraemon at the bottom of the 6 Feet Under list. This N64 game review page covers various genres. Racing games range from the disappointing Cruisin' World and the poor F1 pole position to the well-received Diddy Kong Racing, 86%, and the superb F1 World Grand Prix, 94%. First-person shooters like GoldenEye, 95%, and Forsaken, 93%, receive high marks, while Doom 64 scores a decent 74%. Fighting games vary. Fighter's Destiny gets 80%, but Dual Heroes and GT64 Championship Edition both score 30%. In football, IS-98 95%, and FIFA Road to World Cup 98-80% are highlights, contrasting sharply with the abysmal FIFA 64 20%. Other notable titles include F-Zero X 90%, Gex, Enter the Gecko 90%, and Iggy's Wrecking Balls 83%. The page also features a 64 puzzles section, including Buster Move 2 91%, and lists of top and bottom rated games. The Nindex review section evaluates various Nintendo 64 games. Scores range widely, from the high 80s to below 30. Standout titles include Lylat Wars / Star Fox 64 88%, Puyo Puyo Sun 64 87%, and Mortal Kombat 4 86%. RPG/platformer, Mystical Ninja starring Goemon, and ice hockey game, NHL Breakaway 98 both scored 85%. Many titles received average scores, such as Mace, The Dark Age, 70%, and Mario Kart 64, 78%. Several games are criticized for poor gameplay, dated graphics, or licensing issues. The clip winners highlights IS-98 and World Cup 98 as top performers. This 64 magazine review page covers a diverse range of N64 games. Beat-em-ups are highlighted with WWF Warzone earning the top score of 90%. Other notable games reviewed include Quest 64 Poor, Snowboard Kids 83%, Mortal Kombat Trilogy 32%, Mystical Ninja starring Goemon 85%, and NHL Breakaway 98-85%. Scores vary significantly across genres. Rampage World Tour 80%, Star Soldier, Vanishing Earth 65%, and Multi-Racing Championship 52%. Super Mario 64 earns a near-perfect 92%. Other games include San Francisco Rush 70%, Pilot Wings 64, 74%, and Quake 88%. Puzzle games like Puyo Puyo Sun 64 received high scores 87%. Sports titles are also reviewed, including NBA Courtside 65% and NFL Quarterback Club 98-80%. Overall, the page presents a wide array of opinions on the N64's diverse library. This page is the front cover of issue 21 of 64 magazine, with Turok 2, Seeds of Evil taking center stage, boasting the first real review. It mentions a whole host of other games inside as well, games like Duke Nukem, 0 Hour, Wipeout 64, South Park, NFL Blitz, Micro Machines, Let's Smash Tennis, Quarterback Club, 99, Scars Rayman, and even a cheeky mention of maybe, just maybe, Zelda 64. There's also a big advert splashed across the right side for the special reserve. Join the club, offering a bunch of goodies and discounts for a yearly membership, and another panel encouraging readers to reserve your copy today to avoid missing out on the single issue.